risk-aware on-the-road planning. This is part of the MAST CPA. Those of you who are part of the program probably have seen part of this already. And those of you who are not probably heard from Black yesterday what the program is about. This is joint work. Part of this work is being done jointly with BJ and his collaborators, Bert Thunder at the University of Delaware, and Marco Coleman, who will be next on podium. So the title is Risk-Aware On-the-Road Planning. So before we start, I thought about doing this small dictionary recap. BJ talked about a few terms yesterday. So resilience, I think that the way we intend resilience in this workshop is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. And I will talk during this slides, I will talk about robustness, which is defined as strong and effective. And robust means being strong and effective in all most situations and conditions, which I interpret as being strong when unwanted events happen, like road breaking down. And then in the title I have the term risk, which is the possibility that something unpleasant or unwelcome will happen. And I think that in robotics we all know what that means. It happened with you, right? So during this talk I will try to somehow entangle how these three terms relate to each other in multi-robot systems. So when I started studying multi-robot systems in 1998, I found this sentence over and over in many papers trying to justify why we need multi-robot systems. It's because we achieve robustness through redundancy. That is the thing that really struck to my mind in those times, and it somehow hinges on this assumption, which failure of components is an unavoidable event. And this is true for most things we build. But for robots, the mean time between failures may be significantly small. And depending on how we control these robots, this can be important. So the idea is that to counter these failures that are somehow unavoidable, we add redundancy to the system, so we deploy more resources, and somehow we increase robustness. So somehow there is this idea that ideally there is a chart like this. On the x-axis we have redundancy. I don't think we have a good measure of what redundancy means. If we have a homogeneous system, everything being equal, probably redundancy is the number of agents we have. But if we have a heterogeneous system, redundancy is something more complex, because certain components may be duplicated a different number of times. Now on the y-axis we have robustness. And I think that the idea is that, okay, if I have no redundancy at all, then probably I have no robustness at all. But as I increase redundancy, it's not clear at all how this curve looks like. And naively one would say, well, it's going to increase and then level off, because you're not having infinite robustness. But actually that may not even be true. If you have too much redundancy, too many robots, too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, they may start to negatively interfere with each other, so actually we may even go down. So in this project, what we're trying to figure out is, for a specific class of problems, how is this curve? How does it look like? So specifically we have two questions. If I want to achieve a certain level of robustness, what is the amount of redundancy I need? And on the other hand, if my resources are constrained, I have only a fixed number of resources, of robotic resources I can allocate. How much robustness can I achieve so that I can set my expectations right? So in the following slides, I will try to illustrate how we study this problem for a very specific setting, which is the rapid deployment problem that was brought to my attention while working on MAST, which is depicted by this big man here on the right. So we have a number of robots that do not need to be all equal. They operate in an environment, and I will make the simplifying assumption to start with that the environment is somehow there. And there are n target locations that are indicated by these stars. And so we have two situations. If I have more robots than locations, then I want to position at least one robot on each of these locations. So for example, a robot goes there and then turns on the microphone, the camera starts to stream data outside. If on the other hand I have less robots than locations, then since I want to collect information on 4 relevant places, a robot will have to service multiple locations at once. So this is the first one, then this is the second one, of course. All of these has to be done with what is called operational tempo, which I think in computer science we could call a real-time constraint. So if this is completed within 3 hours, that's probably not enough. If this information that is collected by the robots being deployed is streamed out for operators or soldiers or whoever has to enter. So these have to be completed quickly, and this is a parameter. This temporal deadline is something that is short. Consequently, robots will have to maneuver aggressively to get there. And I think that real life and robotics life as well suggests that if you ride your robots recklessly, the chances that they will fail increase. So somehow, what is the interplay between the number of robots I have, the temporal deadline I set, and the probability I have to complete this task? So that's what could happen. You know, in this case, this is a successful deployment because at least 2 robots make the calculations, but most of them fail. So the idea is, okay, what is the smallest velocity, or how I can achieve my velocity so that it's okay to use many of the robots on the mission as long as at least one reaches each of the target locations. So how do we balance this risk of failure with this temporal deadline? So how do we go from the single to the multi-robot planning? Well, in the context of the MAST project, we focus on platforms like this. I think the one here on the right really exists is the one that Alan Baring has done at Berkeley, this coach that actually you can download the web and design and build it, and we have one. I think this is an early design or concept right now. The idea platform is more like a micro UAD. But the idea is that these are small platforms, palm-sized, lightweight, and very constrained in terms of energy, computational power, and communication bandwidth. So when we go from the single to the multi-robot planning, we do something like this. And I would notice here that there are no links, nothing whatsoever between these different agents, which means that while they're executing their mission, they don't talk to each other at all. It's a questionable decision. Of course, they could do better if they could talk to each other. However, there are two aspects. One is, okay, with the kind of platforms we do have, we do not have this luxury. And the other thing is that reconfiguring on the fly, because the changes have occurred, some changes have occurred in the environment, is surely feasible, but that goes against the idea that we have to complete the task quickly. So when we go from the single to the multi-robot planning, what I will do is that I will plan actions for the individual robot, and then when we go to the multi-robot planning, it will come by just more or less replicating the same plan on the different platforms. So now this chart that I have in the beginning starts to somehow be hidden by the interplay between these three parameters, P and K. P is a temporal deadline, P is the probability of success, so this starts to be my measure of robustness. And K is the number of agents I can deploy. So I can start to ask designer analysis questions like, okay, I pick 2 of these 2 parameters and then I look what happens to the third one. So how many robots are needed to complete the task within time T, and at least probability P. So in this case, I fix the temporal deadline, I fix a certain level of robustness, and I would like to know how many resources I need to allocate. Or on the other hand, I may have resources constrained, like I have K robots, that's not something I can pick. I am given a certain temporal deadline, then I want to know the amount of robustness I achieve. So what is the probability of completing a task if I have K robots and I have a temporal deadline T? And then on the other hand, I can also ask the last question is okay, if I have K robots and I want to achieve a certain level of robustness, which is a certain probability of success P, what is a reasonable temporal deadline? If I have very few robots and I set a ridiculously short temporal deadline, probably there is little chance I will be able to succeed. So in the following, we will try to answer this for a specific setting. And so we start with single agent planning, and then we see how it translates to the multi-agent case. So the assumption we start with is the one that you discussed for the whole morning and more, is the state observability. Some people say that this is a bad assumption, or it's never really know where they are. I think in certain cases this is a reasonable assumption, so that's what we're going to achieve soon, and this will translate to multiple decision processes or better translate multiple decision processes. So complex plans are the composition of single motion primitives, and each of these motion primitives is characterized in terms of failure rates. And I will make sure I will clarify what it means in the following. And then, at the same time, since we are dealing with robustness, with time and whatnot, we should somehow account for multiple costs in this framework. And this is why we go from multiple decision processes to constrained multiple decision processes. So in terms of primitives, what does it mean? Well, a primitive is defined by a target location and a velocity profile. So if I want to go to the end of the room, I can go to the end of the room in different ways. I can move very slowly, or I can move recklessly. If you have an inexpensive robot, by the way, this movie here on the right remembers what it means to be least even, you can run it many times and get these trajectories, and that translates to these set of curves. From those, we can derive for every possible primitive, the primitive being a target location and a velocity profile, which I try to reach this target location. I can associate these probability of success. So this is the probability of going from state X to state Y with the given action A, where the action will be, for example, forward fast, and then we have these spread of points forward slow, where they are somehow less for granted. It also gives us the costs, like how long it takes to complete these maneuvers, and the other costs additional, in some like energy, the probability of failure, and whatnot. So all of these go into this formulation, which is, I mean, not go into details here, but basically what we're trying to do is that we're minimizing the failure rate subject to bounds on the time, because this is what we started with, operational tempo. We can have additional bounds if we want, in terms, for example, of energy consumed, covertness, and so on and so forth. And these additional constraints here basically balance the transition probabilities that we imputed from the primitives, and at the same time enforce that we reach the target location. So what we do now is that for a single agent, we pick every possible target location we're given, and we solve this problem for each of the agents. So this will somehow compute a plan that will drive one agent to one target location. Okay? There is also an extension. This is work done with Marco some time ago, where basically you can even have uncertainties on how these costs are characterized. So we have a robust extension to this CMTP formulation, and so we can now solve, we have solved the simple problem of going, of driving one robot to one of the target locations. Now, how do we solve the problem, given that we have multiple locations to reach, and that we have multiple robots? So there are two approaches. One is the swarm approach, which is when I have many more agents than target locations. So as I said, there is no online communication, so what we do is that preliminarily each robot is assigned those locations. Through redundancy, hopefully I will allocate more robots to hard to reach locations and less robots to the easy to reach locations, so it's a matter of resource allocation problem, which can be formulated as this target assignment, where basically I have to decide for every target location how many robots I am associating. So the kj is how many robots are going to the jth location, kj plus 1, because every location has to be serviced by at least one robot. And this is trying to maximize the probability that, the probability of success being every location is reached by at least one robot. The bad news is that we have surprisingly these problems that can be hard, but the good news is that it can be approximated when the number of robots grows asymptotically. So how does it look like? Well, eventually it looks something like this. So I recall that they have P and K, temporal deadline, probability of success, which is our proxy for robustness, and K is the number of robots, which is in a sense the proxy for redundancy. And it looks like this. We have this surface here, where on the three axes I have these three parameters, and then this is how the interplay works within them. So this is a point solution in the sense that given that we are bound to execute this control strategy, which implies no communication and whatnot, this is how the curve between robustness and redundancy would be applied. If I were to change the control strategy, or if I were to change the motion primitives I got now, this curve would look different, but somehow it can be rebuilt through this frame. The alternative is when I have a nose-board model plan, which is, in this case, I have more targets than roads. And so what happens, well, a pretty obvious strategy related to what Pratap was talking yesterday is that we could somehow partition these targets into groups and then try to assign these groups to different roads. Now there are good news and bad news. The bad news, so we will do something like this. First we partition all these targets in groups of one target, and that's simple. Then we start to partition them in groups of two targets, then in three targets, and so on and so forth. And then later on we try to assign these groups, for each of these groups, we compute a policy so that the code is going to visit all the targets in a grouping sequence. And then we try to assign these groups to the roads. The idea being that I will need enough groups so that all the targets are covered, and then we decide how to assign those to the roads. So the bad news is that we don't have a good solution for how to partition this. We can do it optimally in a computationally efficient way, or we can do it well in an approximate or in a heuristic way. What we're really looking for is an exact solution or an approximate solution for which we have a precise approximation bound. The good news is that once we have solved this problem, I think we're pretty close to have an approximation for which we can compute the approximation factor. Then this becomes an instance of the so-called static web target assignment problem, where basically we have to decide how to service all of these targets in such a way that each of the targets is covered by at least one road. This is an NP-complete problem, but for the specific case we have the objective function is modular, so a greedy strategy wouldn't actually be sufficient to produce an approximation with 1 minus 1 over bound. Very quickly, in the last 2 minutes I have, I would like to talk about something that we've done more recently, which involves not only risk awareness, but risk aversion. And the idea is the following. The idea is that once we use these multiple decision processes, planners, or train multiple decision processes approaches, what we are minimizing for is the expectation, which is fine, but there are occasional trajectories that may have very large deviation from the expectation. So, for example, if I'm trying to go from point A to point B, the optimal trajectory that would come out minimizing the expected cost will be the one in green. And this is what will happen most of the time, but occasionally the planner, because of the underlying stochastic environment, may produce a policy that once it is executed, they have this occasional realization which is really, really far from the expectation. And from for the problem we have, these occasional outliers may be really detrimental because they may mean the complete failure of the mission, because we have to visit each and every target within the temporal deadline. So this occasional realization where it takes forever to visit the target basically makes my whole mission a failure. So what can be done? This is a paper that was presented at ITRA a few months back. There are some risk measures, and this will be a talk of its own, that more or less measure the tail, or stealing one expression that Marco created, is how bad is bad. So if you have these occasional realizations that are really far off from the expectation, how far are those? Okay, so is it, if I put a bound here and say, okay, this is where 95% of my probability is, what happens behind these bound could be very different. I could have that all my remaining 5% is just one notch, but the threshold, it could be very far away, or it could be uniformly distributed. So all of these are different situations that somehow we would like to control. So what we have done, and again, I mean, I'm running out of time, and I will give you a reference at the end of the paper, is that we introduced some new machinery that basically allows to introduce risk aversion on multiple decision processes. So what it means is that I will accept to have a higher expectation in the objective function, and in return I have less probability of incurring in this very far from the expectation realizations. And this is how it would look like. So if I have if I don't pay any attention to this occasional outliers, I have distribution of costs which is like this, which has a lower mean but a higher tail. If on the contrary I introduce risk aversion, what it means is that I have a higher mean but I have a lighter tail, which means that these occasional bad trajectories do not occur very often. Right now, what are the challenges in the open problems? I think that there are numerous. One is, what is a good set of primitives? So since the planar counts by composing these small primitives, elementary primitives, how do we pick those? These are clearly vehicle dependent, but they also have to embed risk and not. So this is something we're working on, trying to come out with a set of primitives in a principal way. A lot of these computational techniques may be additionally challenging. They may generate very large linear programs. On the one hand, one tends to care not too much because this is solved upfront, so it's an upfront cost that you can afford. At the same time, if there are some changes online, you would like to recompute those policies. So there is also a push to try to be more efficient. This picture here on the right is some recent work with my student Shams Rezabadi, where basically you can solve this thing in a hierarchical way where you compress cluster of states into groups, and then the overall size of the linear program shrinks with some guarantees about how much you lose. So the conclusions, I think that robustness or failure should be factored into the planner from the very beginning. And in some settings, it is possible to build a relationship between redundancy and robustness defined in domain-specific way. In our case, robustness means probability of success. And the other thing that I would like to point out is that I think that as a community, we use a lot of time-consuming processes. I think that there is a good case for using constrained time-consuming processes because there is oftentimes you cannot just care about one cost. And combining multiple costs in a linear function, like it's so often done, it's a bad idea because the linear combination you have eventually has little resemblance to the physical system you have. You're playing with. And these are the references that I mentioned, and I'm interested